Welcome to the Cove Wellbeing Talk Show. I am Owen Morgan, creator of Cove Wellbeing. Myself and my co-hosts Steve, Darryl and Dave talk all things wellness. Please watch and listen with care. Some of this content may be triggering or may make you feel uncomfortable. So do press that stop button and take a break. Always put yourself first. I'm a mental health advocate and I've interviewed hundreds of wellness experts. I've also spent time with people who have stories of overcoming wellness struggles. I myself have suffered with childhood abuse from childminders, severe school bullying, a deep depression in my 20s, and blackout anxiety, plus a life-threatening illness. I want to give a voice to those who can inspire others to improved wellness. Okay, so today we are talking nature and getting outdoors and how it can help us with mental health support. So with me as always, my co-host Stephen Truelove, Darryl Osborne, and our brand new shiny fourth co-host, Dave Furness. This is his second episode, but this is actually the first episode where all four of us are together, which is super exciting. So let's make our way around the room. How are we today, Steve?
Great, in wet and windy Wales, but things are starting to open up for us, and I'm quite excited about getting a haircut next Thursday. I've been waiting a long time. My big priority at the moment, so yeah.
Oh, I feel for you guys. I just shaved my head with my razor. I'm good to go. No hairdressers for me needed, so it's all good. So Darryl, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm very well, Owen. And like you, I've joined you with the shaving of the head. Doing lockdown, I've decided to shave it off, and it's nice and simple. Yeah, I'm doing really well. Excited to talk about nature, and I've been missing it in lockdown. I'm starting to get back out this. This is going to be a brilliant one.
Yeah, definitely. I knew nature was a big thing for you, so I knew you'd find this episode quite special. But yeah, amazing. And Dave, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. Unlike the other guys, I've sort of, I'm rocking the long hair, look like Fat Jesus at the minute. So I'm
brilliant.
I think the beard's growing, hair's growing. I just look like it's some caveman. I'm really embracing lockdown. So I'm hanging out a little bit longer before I visit the hairdressers.
It's all good, man. Like, I've always been an admirer of your beard. It's pretty epic. So
thank you, sir. Thank you.
You're doing something right.
I have a natural ability to grow hair. That's my
superpower.
That's my skill. Exactly. The worst superpower ever.
I think it's a very good one for a lot of men. Would be very jealous. So, thank you guys. I'm really excited, like I said, to do this with the four of us. It's going to be really cool. So if anybody's listening, that I know this show does really well. I want to thank everybody for all the downloads. Honestly, it's really beautiful to see how popular this particular show that we do with the group of us is. And I hope in this new dynamic of having four regular hosts will be good for you guys that are listening. I hope so. So, as always, when we do these shows, I have a little cheeky look on Google, see what's going on in regards to the subject that we're talking about. So, I have looked for I've looked online for a description of how nature can help mental health. I know some of this is quite obvious, but let's go for it. So, it says here, being in nature or even viewing scenes of nature reduces anger, fear, and stress, and increases pleasant feelings. Exposure to nature not only makes you feel better emotionally, it contributes to your physical well-being, reducing blood pressure, heart rate, muscle tension, and the production. It says the production of stress hormones. I think that's obviously a typo either on their part or my part, because I'm sure it's reduction of stress hormones. But we get the idea of what they're saying here. A lot of this is quite obvious. So the idea of today is to talk about the importance of getting out, but also, like Steve mentioned off camera, how nature can affect us, weather conditions, winter, summer, all of these things can affect us mentally on many levels and emotionally too. So let's open a conversation for the next hour all about this. So guys, what is your relationship with nature over the years? Is it something that means a lot to you? Is it part of your life now? So let's mix it up this week. So I'm going to go straight to Darryl because I know this is his subject. So Darryl, what does it mean to you, and is it part of your life?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't think I've ever been asked that before. It feels like an old friend, a soulmate, a place to go, to be at one with self. For me, I think that's what I've realized, that I was subconscious in previous years, but more conscious now in my journey, that it's a place that I go where I can more deeply and more powerfully connect to myself, connect to source. So in that way, when I go to nature, I'm going to myself, and I think it's just beautiful. and it's that level of escape, but not the dangerous escape, but the beautiful escape. And with the way the crazy world is, I feel like it's so important for me and for everybody. And when your life's busy and like being in lockdown, it's like I've been missing my soulmate. So it's, I think it's just that connection, that that being in that. And I've done it through hobbies and through work, and I will continue to do so in the future because it's just beautiful for the growth and the connection and development. It's just life. It is life, right? Until maybe 100 years ago, even a few hundred years ago, we would have lived so close to nature. 1,000 years ago, we would have lived completely in nature. It's only recent that we've gone into concrete buildings and depression and everything's on the rise. And I think it's hugely connected. So I think it's a lifesaver, a life source.
Yeah, I think you're right. We're naturally sort of drawn to it normally, aren't we? Like you said, because of our history, our ancestral history is to be like that. And I saw you, didn't I see you on a Facebook Live the other day? Were you seeing a client while you were out in nature? Did I get that right? Was that you?
I don't think so. I think I was with my partner. I was in the
You
park.
were in a tent.
In a
but
tent.
I thought you were potentially
right.
doing.
I didn't. The client wasn't with me, but I did do a coaching session while I was, because I had signal. So I was the next morning after my beautiful sleep in the hammock, fire the night before. Oh, it was beautiful. I haven't done it in weeks, months. Like it's like that. It's beautiful. And the next morning I did a coaching session as well, and I felt even more connected than I usually am. And I'm usually really connected to myself and my clients. So it was like, it's beautiful.
I think that's a really nice touch, and probably a bit of a niche going on there. Coaching outdoors, so the person may feel really. It could really help the person on the other side of the Zoom camera. I think it's a really, really good idea, actually, all in all.
Yeah.
So I look forward to seeing more of that action. So Steve, for you, what does nature mean to you? I guess for you, both you and Darryl, you kind of, there's a lot of nature near where you are with the valleys and everything else.
Yeah, there's some beautiful walks. I mean, I love nothing more than standing on top of a mountain with beautiful views. The weather's nice, all by myself, nobody else around. These pictures that we see regularly through the media with somebody stood there, arms stretched out, beautiful light and openness everywhere. And I think that makes me, it brings peace. But I will say, once I've got that peace, I tend to get a bit bored then because there's not much else to do up on top of a mountain. So probably the most wonderful thing I really enjoy is woodland walks, because there's a different energy, there's nature itself. And then if I want to feel grounded, I like to be on the beach, barefoot in the sand and in the water. So I'm guessing it depends on my mood and what's running for me at the time is which way I'd like to go. Either the top of that mountain to be by myself, walking through the woodland, or maybe be on a beach. Maybe not such a crowded beach as I've seen of late, but it's nice to be on a beach and just get that grounding feeling.
Yeah, certainly. And, a cheeky little plug for the YouTube channel. There are some guided relaxations with Steve on the beach and in the woodland. So go and check those out. It's amazing.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that one.
Yeah, transport. It only came into my mind because hearing your voice reminds me of the editing I was doing on those videos of yours, which is amazing. But I'm the same as you. Like, it depends, doesn't it? Sometimes it's amazing being out in the woods and stuff. But I love being by the sea and on cliffs and just anything by water. I don't know why. It's just, even in Bath, it's a water city. It just feels like home for me, really, which is amazing. So, Dave, what's nature like up in Manchester?
To be fair, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's very green because we have a lot of water that comes from the sky. The only thing Manchester doesn't have is a beach. Like, we have mountains, we have forests, we have hills. We don't have a beach, and it just so happens that the beach is my happy place. Like, that is where, just like you said, Owen, there, I think there's an old term, a thalassophile. It just means someone who loves the sea or the ocean, and that's certainly where I feel most. I guess like Steve just said, like, energy wise, the energy from the ocean to me is the most powerful thing that resonates with me. So for me, being in nature, and I'm definitely solar powered. So, like, put me somewhere hot with the sun, and I'm all about it. And if there's a beach where I can be barefoot on the ground, I can get in the water. That's like my happy place. So for me, I'm definitely, being out in nature is a huge thing for me. I can definitely tell when I've, I'm sure we all get in those places where we get a little bit too much into work and then realize we've not been out for a few days. And I now know, I'm like, I need to get outside, even if it is raining in Manchester, which it normally is. It's a case of, right, put the coat on and get outside, and I will instantly feel better, even if the weather's terrible. Just being outside, feeling the wind, feeling the rain, just the using the senses, that whole mindfulness thing of being present in that moment is huge, and that played a huge part in my recovery with my mental health, and it's something which I'm very mindful of to make time for, usually every day. I haven't done today yet, but usually, well, I don't think going to the supermarket counts, but yeah.
There's broccoli.
Yeah. Rubbing a broccoli. Yeah. So yeah, no, it's huge. It's huge.
You've got to be a ninja warrior. No, I'm not going to the supermarket.
Yeah.
It's stressful.
My mask on. I had my mask on.
Yeah, it can be a bit stressful at times, but I'm sure like a lot of the listeners will say, lockdown was tough, wasn't it? So many of us who didn't have a garden, like imagine living in a flat city block. Whoa, like for a couple of months.
Well, I used to, and I'm so grateful that I sold that before this happened, because that would have been very hard.
Yeah, so hard. I mean, even in my partner's flat, we've got a balcony, and she started putting loads of plants out, pot plants. Honestly, it just transformed the balcony. It does give you at least a little piece of nature. She's done a really good job. It's really lovely out there. And like you said, I like to think about it as this expansive space. I think sometimes for your nervous system and just for your being generally, being in tight spaces will have an impact over time. That expansiveness alone allows you to kind of, whatever it is, psychological, emotionally, whatever, you seem to open, don't you, as the space opens, which is beautiful. So the questions are a bit weird today because I was trying to figure out the best way to talk about what we're talking about. But the next question is, in brief, how can being in nature and outdoors help us? I know we touched on this, but we'll just whiz round just in brief. So for you, Darryl, like what do you think are the key parts of how nature and outdoor can help us?
Yeah, I think we've all touched on this, and I think the key thing is that connecting to yourself, in the sense, being able to express and being free to have that space that we've talked about. Because when you connect to yourself and you're fully present in the moment, there's only joy, right? So, and I think that opens that up. And if there's any pain or any trauma, like we talk about, nature's a great healer, but it reveals, so it can be quite uncomfortable as well. And especially when I've done difficult things and challenging things in expeditions and stuff in nature, when you take it to extremes as well, you really face, like you say, you face the mountain, you face nature, but really you face yourself. So I think you see yourself for who you really are often in these places, and you have that space to do that. And the opportunity for growth and self-reflection, and ultimately to connect to yourself and your truth and to live aligned with that, and the pace and the energy. Like I can feel energy from trees now. I've really started to connect to things. I can feel myself, I can touch trees and feel the energy. And not just then, obviously, but like in general, you can feel the energy. And it, like the guys were alluding to, I think it's brilliant. There's almost different places, but like Steve said as well, that you go to with different moods maybe, or different feeling. And the sea is vast and open, right? And there's something powerful but beautiful and serene about that. And then also the forest is encompassing and can be claustrophobic. And I lived in the jungle for a month, and sometimes it feels a bit much, but then there's something about it that frees you as well in a different way. And the same with the mountain peaks you talked about, and you're still on the top and you can just see everything and you're stood above it all and you can be in line with the clouds. There's just power, and also it's humbling in the moment as well, that nature is so vast and powerful and you're so small, but you feel so powerful because you feel connected to it, because we are all connected to nature. Nature is us. I really feel that we all are connected. Animals, plants, humans, we're all connected spiritually, all connected energy-wise. So once you connect to yourself and you connect to your energy, you can really connect to the rest. And it can be vice versa, the more you can experience the outdoors. And I really feel that me doing all the expeditions, all the travel I've done, and a lot of the travel I did was in nature's places and outdoorsy kind of places off the beaten track, meant that I connected greater to myself and opened up true beauty in my life. And going back to that, it just enhances it, and it's just an important part of my life. And lockdown's really taught me that even missing it for a little bit is dangerous in a way. It's like missing a part of your soul.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And I wasn't much of a walker back in the day, but lockdown brought it into my life. I was going out by myself, going for long walks. And it really, really helped me actually, just to kind of realize actually how beautiful it really was and how stuck I was by not doing it. So thank you, lockdown, for that, because you brought that into my life. My partner was like, "What? You like walking? Can't believe it." So and now we're going. I'm on Sunday. Let's go for a walk for like 90 minutes. She's like, "What?" But we're there now. She knows I love it. So for Steve, by the time we get today, there's not going to be much left to say on this question. But for you, Steve, why does it help us, do you think?
Well, I think it's all part of bringing balance. I've really enjoyed this lockdown, actually being at home. I've enjoyed being in my home. But there comes a point where that becomes too much as well. And I've spoken to so many people over the last few months who just say just being able to sit in the garden, as you've mentioned earlier on, is just getting outside and having some fresh air and being able to look at something, maybe hear some birds in the distance or whatever's going on. But I think it's just part of life, of balance, because if you're cooped up too much, as people have been, working from home, and when they're stuck in offices, when they've been there, it's just having that opportunity to step outside and change your focus. And that's what the outdoors brings. It just brings a focus and takes us away from the everyday life, as long as you're not trying to get into a supermarket.
Well, they'll make you queue outside, so there is some nature going on.
You get a bit of it.
Fresh air.
Yeah, quite.
On a beautiful
Some of the
car
metros, if they're right by a park, now you're talking. It's looking good. But a word just came to me from what you just said. A word that came to me was clarity. You know, you sit in the garden and, like you say, watching a bird or whatever. I find I always get a sense of clarity comes to me. I can see things better. I can see what's going on for me more, because for some reason that expansive space creates clarity. So that just came to me. I thought I'd share that. So Dave, anything left to share on why it helps us so much?
I think Darryl and Steve have done an awesome job. I totally agree with both of them. Quickly, just to throw in my little bit, I think being in nature almost forces us to be present. And in a world, not so much in lockdown, I know a lot of people have had spare time on their hands, but back in the old days when people were allowed to work 50-hour weeks and run themselves into the ground, nature would almost give them that freedom, like you said, or that clarity, like you just said, to not worry about how that meeting went last week or what presentations you've got to get ready for next week. It forces you or gives you the ability to just be. And I think that's a very powerful thing, and something which, again, lockdown has probably led a lot of people to doing more naturally, like staying at home. They have to just be. Like they realize that actually we're kind of small and insignificant in a lot of ways in the global scheme of the world, and we just have to be rather than do. And I think that level of clarity of mindfulness, what can you see, what can you hear, what can you smell, what can you feel, all of that just brings you into that present moment, and can really give you, like I say, clarity. Can also bring creativity, problem solving, because it allows your mind to wander in that moment rather than constantly looking at a set point in the future. So I think that's how it helps me, at least, and how I know it helps a few other people I've spoken
Well,
with.
I think this time has certainly slowed everybody down. People are not rushing around because they can't anymore, can they? They're not in the mad rush we were before. So maybe coming out of it, people will recognize that a bit more, and just bringing them into the moment and being present is slowing down, isn't it? And being aware of what's around you. So
I certainly hope so, Steve. I certainly hope
absolutely.
so. I think the world needed it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you guys. I had a little experience in the park on Sunday. We were walking through Victoria Park, which is like Bath's big, amazing park there. And what I love about getting out is the community aspect of it. I think it's much easier to get a sense of overall community in outdoor spaces compared to indoor spaces. So we were walking Victoria Park, and most people were in their little bubbles, as we call them over here, and mostly being good at socializing-ish. But there was something really special about me and my partner. We were walking kind of through the center of the park, and there was like guys and girls playing football, there was kids playing frisbees, there was barbecues, there was kids playing, there was people sunbathing, there was all different kinds of languages too in Bath. There's so much diversity here. So it was just gorgeous to feel part of that park. I felt like I was part of everybody there. Everybody was there for the same reason, to enjoy the space. We're all in it together, and it felt quite emotionally empowering, really, to be in that community space. So I wanted to just mention that because I think that is a huge part of how it can help us, you know, to be on a similar course to other people in that moment. Very, very beautiful. And luckily in Bath, we're blessed for that. We have so many parks, but obviously it's a city with a shitload of trees, loads of nature, and it's a basin. So Bath is a like an imploded volcano. If you guys knew that. So Bath is like a basin because it was a volcano that collapsed, and that's why it's got hot water baths. So that it's got this amazing like outskirt of trees and country, then all these amazing Georgian buildings in the middle. And it's just got this really amazing, massive park with big buildings vibe about it. It's beautiful. Anyway, enough gushing over Bath. Focus on the prize.
A little bit of a history lesson there, mate.
Yeah, well, there you go. There you go. It's beautiful. They've got a skyline walk, which is about 6 miles. So you can walk right round Bath on the skyline on top of the volcano bit. It's very cool. So our next question is, do we feel such things as dog walking, couples walks, running outdoors are good ways for us to boost health? So firstly, I would much rather run outside on a cycle path in nature than go on a treadmill. I know a lot of people feel the same. A lot of people don't want to do that and they would rather be on the treadmill. But the most important thing, I think, is when you're trying to have a conversation with somebody, and maybe it's a hard conversation, a vulnerable conversation, difficult. I find going and walking with them, moving your body, so getting your nervous system moving whilst talking about something difficult, is actually quite a powerful way to get what you want to say out than sitting in a room. So for me, my partner, you know, we get to really talk about our week whilst we're on the move. Seems a very special way of doing that. So Darryl, for you, do you think, you know, all of these things with people, without people, exercising, these are all really good ways for us to take our health to that next level through those interactive outdoor activities?
Yeah, easy one for me, as you probably already can allude to. 100%. Nature's life for me. I don't know what I'd do without it. And with the people aspect, I think it's beautiful. I go for a walk with my partner sometimes. And like we talked about, that space and all of that, the peace, the tranquility. It gives you that space, that moment to... Well, you're out of it, aren't you? You're not in the house where there could be jobs to do or wherever you may be. There's that you're going purposely for that. And the way that nature is and the energy, it opens that up even more powerfully. So I think it's beautiful. And the same with the running as well, isn't it? You don't really want to be staring at a wall or a window or whatever. Maybe you want to be moving and flowing with nature, in nature. And more than that, for me, when I've done like expeditions and I've done adventure travel, you get to know strangers or people you've already know much more deeply, much more quickly than you normally would. People open up much easier, especially when you're spending prolonged time in nature. Like your rhythm just naturally, as we would have been with tribes, naturally links up. So I feel like a lot of the things you do, it becomes second nature as a group. And I think it's just crazy how powerful that nature is, and it just shows the difference. You go to a city, the bigger the city, like London, and everyone's not even looking you in the eyes. You know, nobody's really talking that much. Not everywhere, obviously, but you go to the busy bits, rush hour on the train, nobody's looking. But you go into nature and it's like you all just flow as one almost in a weird way, especially if you stay for a long times. And even if they're not your type of people particularly, there's still nature has a way of somehow bringing you together in some way or finding some balance. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. It happens with dog walkers all the time, isn't it? That dog binds you, you know. You bump into a stranger, your dog's like, hey, how you doing? This is the dogs talking I'm talking about. And then obviously, oh, you know, how are you? What dog breed you got there? So it's
good pickup line.
Yeah, so it is a way to find love, make friends, which is cool. But like you said,
sexy.
Yeah. You know. Yeah, meeting at the dog poo bin. You know,
what does yours smell like?
Bond over picking up poo.
Yeah, exactly. These are all ways to bond. You know, we joke, but it's a bonding activity. That. But I have to say, like when I had a lot of my problems with depression and stuff, I found it quite difficult to walk down a path and someone come towards me and I'm like, shit, you know, I'm shit with eye contact. I don't want to look at them head down. It actually was quite stressful to walk past someone in a park. So it can be, if you're with somebody else as you're walking, it could be a good way to help your nervous system start to feel safe again and maybe say morning. And I found over time, the more I did it, the more now I'm like the annoying guy that looks at you in the eyes, you walk past and go, morning. And they're like, why's this guy talking to me? So it's gone the other way. But, you know, I think it's very special to walk along. You know, they say morning, you say morning. There's actually something very lovely about that communication. you both out for a walk, you may never see them again. I think it's very special. Just saying that, it's beautiful. So for you, Steve, with sort of activities and using that outdoor space to help our healing process, you think there's definitely a place for that?
Well, absolutely. But like you said, every individual is different. Some people want to stay on a treadmill perhaps and don't want to go out there. But I think the openness, the freedom, and that's dogs get you out, don't they? Because unless you want to walk around the living room every night, it's going to get you outside, So I know some people have bought a dog initially because of that, because they know it's going to get them out and get them active. And if the body's moving, we know that there's some form of healing happening. And even, like you said, conversations are harder to have stuck in a room with somebody than they are if you can stroll along and just gradually bring something to the surface and get it all out into the open, as we say. Perhaps that's where the sayings come from. The great outdoors, that's what they call it, and that's what people should be, I'm not saying doing more of, but it's all about balance again.
Yeah, it certainly is. And for a minute then, Dave, I was like, oh, Dave likes running. I talked about that, and I realised that isn't the case. And I've mixed my guys up. But I feel like we're having a lot of fun on this episode, more show than normal. So it's good. After some of the heavy episodes we've done recently. No, we've had some heavy episodes, and we all said we needed something lighter.
Yeah.
And we're here because the coaching episode was amazing, but it was quite deep. So this is great today. So for you, Dave, obviously, I know. Well, why don't we talk about, because I know with your podcast and stuff, you do the stuff in the car. And granted, you are in a car doing your podcast. It's still relevant that you're out and about driving around. It must open up a different kind of conversation. Would you say, being in an expansive, moving space?
Absolutely. That was the main reason why the car thing became natural, because like you just said, like mental health can get deep sometimes, and I try and bring, wherever appropriate, a level of humor or lightheartedness to the conversation, because I truly believe that's how we remove some of the stigma around it. We don't need to make a hard topic harder to talk about. So yeah, being out in a car, being more ventral in that polyvagal term, as like being social, you're with someone, but also you can look out the window and see what's going on in the world, and be reminded that you're not alone. There is other things going on in the world. I think that can be as Darryl mentioned before, like much more of a reminder of the connectedness of like a global consciousness with more people. And also, like I said, I'm not a runner, Owen, but I have cycled across Portugal twice, and that was the only training I did for that was on like a watt bike in the gym, and then I landed in Portugal and got on a real bike, and I was like, wow, this was not prepared me at all for this. But it was so much better to be outside. It was so much better to just again see, cycle past vineyards and golf courses and beaches, and rather than just stare at the brick wall in the gym. It was a very different experience. And a conversation I had the other day with a guy, a really cool guy I met called Charlie. He's a therapist and counselor, and I can't remember who he quoted on this. The Stephen Ayardi sounds familiar. I may be wrong. But he looked into like the research around antidepressants, and he said, well, actually going for a run is pretty much the equivalent of 30 milligrams of Zoloft, which is an SSRI. It's like, but the thing is, most people, when they are depressed, if you say, do you want to take this pill or do you want to go for a run? They'll take the pill because it's easier. Whereas actually going for the run will give you the same benefits, the same boost in your serotonin and everything else, without the need for medication. So there is absolutely health benefits to physical activity, being outside. Like I said, it doesn't even have to be, extreme cycling, running. It literally can be dog walking. It can be walking with your partner, and just being outside in nature has proven health benefits. This isn't just, mindfulness, woo-woo, spiritual stuff. This is also scientifically proven, biological chemical reactions.
Yeah, it's so true. And it makes me think, Steve, we did that walk, didn't we? When we did the hero stuff. Do you remember? We all went up the, was it Pennyfan?
Yes, yeah.
Pennyfan, yeah. And that was amazing, wasn't it? All the people that get to the top of the mountain, taking pictures. It was super special, and saying hello to people coming down the mountain. There's so many ways you can integrate these things, and I always think it's amazing, the cyclists. When the group of cyclists go out on a Sunday morning, and even though it does cause a bit of an issue getting past in the car, but we let that go. They're having a great time, and they're out and about, and I love it because they stop off, don't they? They'll stop off for a pub for something to eat, or they pop off for a little trail walk. They get on with their bikes. It must be so amazing to go out with your friends and just cycle distances like that.
I mean, that was one of the funniest things. Is we were supposed to do it again this year, but obviously got cancelled. But yeah, there's usually about 5 of us who do it. I remember the first year we did it, we got a little bit too comfortable and ended up having like 4 pints at this bar. We weren't even halfway. The second half of the bike ride got very bit more tricky. But yeah, there's a great social aspect of it, and like I said, that camaraderie, having that collective goal that you're going to reach, all has huge health benefits.
Book me in for the next trip, mate.
Absolutely. Don't threaten me, Steve.
Especially the pub.
Nice.
I'll sign you up right here and now. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with a bit of booze and bike.
Yeah.
But maybe on the cycle tracks, let's not go on the main roads.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, thank you guys. That's really awesome. And I know a lot of this is obvious, but I think it's such an important thing to talk about. What insight could you guys give us to those that are listening who get very stuck? Those who are stuck in their day-to-day grind, stuck in the busyness and saying that they don't have time. They feel like they do not have time to fit it in. What kind of insight can you give them on a mindset around that, how to create time, how to integrate it into their day-to-day? What would be some of your ways to do that? So Darryl, what do you think is good for people who are really struggling to get out?
What you say like that is just do a little. The problem with all of us, with all of our goals, we make it too big, too much, and then we put it off because there's so much to think about doing, and we need so much time to do it and so much energy. Just like we talked about, the little things. Pop out for a 5-minute walk. I don't care. Like, who hasn't got 5 minutes in your day? Like, who hasn't got 5 minutes in the day? What are you doing? How much TV are you watching as well? Think about that. All these kind of things that can be useful and healthy in small doses in different ways. But how much time are you spending doing pretty much nothing healthy? So just find time and just start off small. Just find something you enjoy as well. Like we mentioned as well, whether it be going to the beach, the woods, or somewhere mountainous, or the park, or wherever it may be, just for a little walk. Or you like the bike, just take the bike out for a little cycle. Whatever it may be, it can be anything. But I think it's just starting. For most of us, it's just starting. It's the same for me. Once you start something and you start to enjoy it, and you give yourself the time to get into it in a sense and not overload yourself, it's enjoyable. But it's because we make the goal too big and we make it seem it takes up too much time. But you got to work out what you need to do, isn't it? Prioritize what's right in your life, and there's so much benefits from it. I'm where I am now because of nature. I am where I am now because of the space that I've been able to create in it. And with mental health in particular, it's huge. Majority of us are going to have some form of struggle with some form of mental health in our lifetime, and I definitely have. And it's the simple things, like you mentioned about the pills and the exercise. It's simple, really, to just these things we can do that we would have done more in the past. It would have been our daily lives to be in nature, and then we wouldn't have probably needed the pills so much. But because we're put in this world where it's high stress, high demand, fast pace, find small places to slow it down and find peace in those moments, and then from there you'll know where to go.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that you talked about, too much too soon. It's just going to lead us to overwhelm. So, like you said, it's not easy to switch over and start doing these kind of things, but it's easier if you just make it very simple, just an easy amount to deal with, and just build up from there. I know that, like with my walking recently, like just quick before I head over to you, Steve, like in the lockdown, because I really wasn't a walker, and I wasn't a walker and getting out because I always felt like I had something to do. I always felt like I had something to edit or someone to call, or I would even say, look, I need to eat, or I need to meditate, or I was just finding reasons not to do it because I knew it would feel a bit uncomfortable. So what did I do? I went out, I put my headphones in. So I listened to some like deep house music. That's my vibe. So I would go for a walk, deep house music, and I would get up at 6 foot in the morning to do it because I really didn't want to be anywhere near anybody because of the virus. So I was going out super early. And then after a while, I was like, do you know what? This music's a bit off-putting. Okay, so I'm going to listen to some audiobooks. I was like, yeah, learning, Bezel, Pete Levine, learning. Dave gets it. And then I was like, do you know what? I'm sick of this. I actually want to hear what's going on out here. And then no music, no audiobook. And I was listening to the birds. And I literally, over about 2 months, transformed into this person. It's like, I can't wait to go out and just like have some silence, some quiet, and just like connect to what's going on out here. And it did take time, but I started off with all my comforts, music, walking fast, make it exercise based, and then break it down to slow, silent, beautiful walking. It just took time, little and often. So I just wanted to share that because it's quite useful for me. So Steve, for those who are stuck in their grind and can't seem to fit it in, what would you say to them?
Well, we know it's a changing world, and I think lots of people have learned things through this. However, a lot of people will just fall back into the grind when it all starts back up again eventually. And I don't think there's any excuses anymore. As Darryl said, 10 minutes can be enough. On your break time, find a bit of open space, a park, or even on your way home if you're commuting, get off the bus stop a little bit earlier, drop your bike down somewhere, get out of the car, detour to a park, an open space, and either have a stroll around or a sit down and just be with yourself. It's your time. Make it your little special time. 10 minutes. If you want to spend a bit more, fantastic. But 10 minutes can be enough just to give you that little bit of a break from the humdrum of life and get you back somewhere where you're ready to take on the challenges that are coming your way for the rest of the day. Take that time.
Yeah, it makes me think a lot about workplaces. I'm glad you said that. I've read this back to you, Steve, about sort of the tension build up. You have tension build up in the workplace. Maybe some customers have been horrible to you, or you have a problem with a co-worker or whatever. And that tension builds up, and you go on your lunch and you sit in the cafeteria there, you just eat some food, scan on your phone, look at Instagram, get really pissed off with Instagram. Look at them, look how fit they are. Fuck's sake, I want to lose weight. Whereas what I used to do when I was in retail, because it used to really get on my nerves after a while, is I just go to like the local park and just chill out for 15 minutes, eat my sandwich on the lawn somewhere in the park. And it just releases so much tension, just organically, like you're thinking about it. Then you walk back into the building, even with a bit of vitamin D too, a bit refreshed. So those customers don't become so annoying because you've given your nervous system a little refresh. So Steve, would you say that's a good thing also for like tension release from stress?
Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. You've got to it's all about tension, isn't it? That's what we hold on to through conversations, through deadlines, whatever it is in your workplace. And you're taking it on, you're building it up. So you're the one to release it. And that's all you need is that 10 minutes by yourself, or even with a colleague if you need to. But I think time by yourself is really, really important.
Yeah, definitely. And I know we're talking about this from the perspective of tension. I'm going to throw this to you, Dave, because I know you're similar to me in the sense of like, we love what we do, right? We love our podcasting, we love meet people, we love editing, we love all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, sometimes I get so caught up in what I love, I then don't go out and take some time out because I'm like, well, I'm doing what I love. Why should I go out? But even then, if I go out and come back in, I come into the next podcast with a lot more clarity. So is that the same for you? Do you ever get caught up in the joy of your work and sometimes forget to do these kind of things?
100%. This was, I say, this was a large contributing factor to my depression. Was I know we've spoken about this before, Owen, but I was definitely a perfectionist and a workaholic. So for me, it just was not a priority. Like my priority was work. And well, if I wasn't at a computer, I was on my phone. If I wasn't on my phone, I'd have the laptop. Or I was always somehow connected under this guise, under this falsehood that I was being busy or being productive, and I wasn't. I was just sort of kidding myself, trying to find my own self-worth in my work ethic. Now, like I said, one of the major things for me when I started on my sort of recovery was I would schedule an hour in my calendar so that people like my business partners would know where I was, just the employees would know where I was. It's like, don't bother Dave, he's out. And I would just, for an hour, just get outside. I said, don't care what the weather was, where I was, I would just be walking somewhere outside. And going back to the original question about people who are stuck in a day-to-day busy life, listen, I've not met one person who I could not find at least 30 minutes of time where they're not busy, but think they're busy, and Darryl said you only need 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but I guarantee I could find 30 minutes in your day where you could get outside and walk around, because if you make it a priority, you will do it. Trust me, like watching Netflix is not a priority if you are not in the best place mentally. We all know it. We've all had those days where if we're going to the gym or going for a run or whatever it may be, the hardest part is putting your shoes on in order to go and do it. The minute you get to the gym or the minute you're halfway through your workout, you're in the zone and you're enjoying it. And then you get home afterwards and you feel like you've accomplished something. You feel great. It's just that hard thing to get started. And it's very easy to fall into that trap of I'm busy when you're not busy. You're just stuck in a routine which is not serving you right now. And it's just having, either if you don't have the willpower to enforce it yourself, find an accountability partner. Find somebody who's going to hold you to account. Be like, hey, Owen, it's time to go for that walk. Hey, get outside. This is what you said you were going to do, and now you're going to do it. And like I said, there's no real excuses. If it's a priority for you, you will do it. And like I said, I challenge anybody listening to this. If you tell me that you've got a busy life and you cannot find half an hour, I want you to email me directly with your time slots of your day, and I will find you half an hour where you are not optimally using your time. That's how strongly I feel about that.
I think I read somewhere it said if you can't find a half an hour to meditate, then do it for an hour.
Yes, I love that quote. Yeah. I've seen that before. Yeah, you need to do it for an hour. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I think sometimes I do it my PTing all the time, like take your activity to the place that you're saying you can't do it. So like my PT clients are like, I don't have time to do my squats that you said about, you said to do like 3 sets of squats, and like I find it hard to find time. I'm like, you love your box sets, don't you? Like, yeah. How long do you watch that for? 2 hours ago. So could you maybe do those squats at the beginning of an episode for me? They're like, yeah. They can't get out of that. You can't say no.
Yeah, exactly.
You are literally...
Because you just told me you're going to be sat watching TV for 2 hours.
You're in a living room. So I said, watch your show that you love, do some squats at the same time. It really is... That's how sometimes when I'm really not up for working out, I attach the thing that I can't do or don't have time for to something that I am doing. So if you're a big scanner, I know a lot of us, especially when a lot of people I know, they say when they get tired, they scan more. So they're more likely to scan on social media when they're tired, which I found really interesting. Some kind of stimulus seeking. I don't know what that's all about. But go and scan outside. Go and sit in the garden and scan. At least you're like halfway there. You're not present, but you're in the garden.
So I totally resonate to what you said, Owen, because I did exactly the same. Back when I had like a normal job working for someone, like I would not go to the canteen because on my lunch because people could find me. And they would ask me questions, and I would literally get in my car and either eat in my car and just be outside, or I would drive to a park or somewhere nearby and just be away, because I think that's been a huge thing. Again, environment is huge, but just I've got half an hour to an hour where I don't have to be in this building, so I'm going to leave the building, and doesn't matter where I go, I'm just changing the environment, and I can go and walk, even if it's just walking around a car park, doesn't really matter. It's just, again, getting moving, getting outside, change your scenery.
Yeah, and like so many of us, including Darryl, why not do a cheeky Instagram or Facebook Live while you're out and about?
I love that.
One stone.
I can completely relate to what Dave's saying. I sit in my car if it's wet. If it's not, there's a park across the road. Even if I get 15 minutes, I go out the back and I sit on the concrete, but I'm out in the sun or out in the fresh air. And I do a cheeky video again with folks and have some fun. That's usually in the car or in the park.
Definitely, but it's so true. Like you said, sitting out on the step. It sounds ridiculous, but if you go out the back entrance of wherever you're working and just chill out, like you said, just a bit in the sun, even if it's just concrete, it's a bloody good start, isn't it? And it just gets you out
on your own.
And sun, like we know how important the sun is. It's huge. So that kind of ties really nicely into our next question, because we've only got 2 left now, which is good because we're trying to keep this trim. Which is, what insights could you share about your own experience or clients who've used self-regulation via the getting out sort of way of being, be it holidays, traveling, mountain climbing? So I just wanted to mention my mum, who has always had like so many jobs. She worked 3 jobs when I was a kid, and she worked so hard. But she has a non-negotiable. I think if you can have non-negotiable self-care, it's very powerful. So she will go on, I don't know, 6, 7 holidays a year. And normally it's the castles around the UK. She loves her castles. So she'll go around and look at castles with her sister. But the thing I've always seen, like, even though she's got this insane hard working ethic, she is non-negotiable with her breaks. She makes sure she takes those breaks, and they're always normally looking around outside. And I really respect her for that, because she knows how important that is for her self-regulation and stuff. So what are your thoughts on kind of like techniques that you've seen, if you use or clients have used, and seeing the power in the self-regulation of getting out? I hope this question makes sense. I'll throw it over to you. It's final insights, really. So just anything you can share, really, Darryl.
Yeah, what's really coming up there is that, and like Dave mentioned, and like you've just mentioned, that priority, that non-negotiable is the key. Like, it's almost like we neglect that, but we know we want that. So we're like, when I make the money, when I get chance, when I get time off, I'll do that in the future. I'll look after myself. I'll enjoy myself. I'll do my hobbies. But then we get in that work mode, and we think that's going to be the answer. But making it right now the priority, like I have now, and even in the last few months, it's changed, where, especially the last year or two, where now the priority is checking in with myself. What's right for me? What do I need to do now? Because often trying to be the busy idiot is exactly that, right? It is. I've tried to be super busy. You're less productive, definitely. I spend less time at the desk now, and I'm far more productive. In fact, now I got a full-time job as well. I hardly got any time, but then I know I got to fit it in smartly. So it's forced me to be like, okay, I got to find time for this. But the best part is I've really realized, especially starting this full-time job now on the side, and I say on the side because it is on the side, because I got my business and all my projects I'm still trying to do. So I understand what it's like not to have much time, but the priority always is what's right for me, what keeps me in that beautiful state, what keeps me in my power, what keeps me aligned with my truth. And that is the key, running around trying to find all these other things, when it's just make sure you're balanced, as Steve says, make sure you're connected, make sure you're aligned. And that means self-care, enjoying yourself. Self-care is just enjoying yourself, basically, whether that be a mix of things, going to the cinema, going for a walk, having a drink with your friends, going to whatever you shoot some pool, archery, for a run, rugby, whatever you do. I like a mix of a few different things. That's got to be a big priority in life. Now, it doesn't mean that you love everything and all week you're doing those things, because it's got to be a balance, right? I still got deadlines with certain things I set myself, but there's a theme throughout the week that means that I don't get to the place where I'm in lack, and I need it desperately, and I'm frustrated all the time, like you're saying, with the customer service stuff. It's very easy to show in that place. Everybody's just releasing, because all that tension is always there. So it's always just releasing. The customers are complaining, the staff are complaining. It's commonplace in most workplaces and in most families and in most parts of life. But when you find that space for yourself, and with others in different ways, that's a beautiful space that not just lets you release, but lets you completely be peaceful and then when those things come up, the stresses, they just go. They come and they go, because there's nothing wrong with being angry now and again or feeling stressed, but it's when you hold on to it. So finding that time to make a priority of self-care, because then you are more productive, then your life is more beautiful, then your business is more successful, then your health is so much better. Everything you want is great if you don't chase after it like a crazy person. So step back, look after yourself, and come at it with a full soul, with a peaceful, tranquil mind, not like a crazy person. And it's all beautiful then. I'm in a job that I definitely don't love. It doesn't stimulate me a bit, but I'm doing it for the right reasons. I've framed it in my mind, the purpose, the reason I'm doing it, and there is positives in it, and the growth opportunities in it. I focus on that, and then I fit around that time to work on what I really love. And sometimes, most of the time, to be honest, especially just starting and the sleep routines being a bit tricky, I still, because it's a priority, my self-care still gets looked after, because my business is my priority. It still happens. Doesn't mean some days I do be a bit more patient and I have a rest if I haven't slept as well. Yes, so be it. But overall, I'm still keeping consistent and productive, because the priorities are clear to me, and the priorities because they mean something to me, and I keep a hold of that.
Yeah, thank you. And it kind of, you touched on something at the beginning there, where no matter how good something is, it still has the ability to burn you out. I've learned that too many times. Too many things that I'm passionate about that just completely destroyed me in the end, because I love it, so I'll just keep going. It brings so much joy to my life. Oh my God, I'm so tired. And it just doesn't really get you anywhere. So like you said, stepping out and stepping back in gives you clarity. You know, my best branding decisions in any business I've ever run has come from when I took like a couple of days off. I came back and went, that's it. I'm walking along. That's the tagline. Shit, that's brilliant. But that all of those things only ever happened in my breaks or when I was walking, or even when I'm having a massage, halfway through a massage. Shit, that's it. And it's because my creative brain juices needed the space to do it. To
completely relates. 100%.
Definitely. So, Steve, for you with this one, kind of having those non-negotiables, having those self-regulation, those self-care routines, which are so important, you know, how do we get our mindset in a position to like Darryl said, to make self-care our friend?
There's a client comes to mind who's he was having all sorts of different types of help, and his body seemed to be constantly in fight or flight. So his nervous system was constantly all over the place. He had businesses, he was thinking too much about them, worrying too much about things. And ironically, he lived by the beach. And then somebody suggested to him, why don't you get up every morning, make it a habit, barefoot, and just walk along the beach and just don't do anything else. And over time, something changed. And a lot of his illnesses started to disappear. And he started to become a different person. And I often think of Milton Erickson, for me, the godfather of hypnosis. And he used to set tasks for people, you know, go up Squaw Mountain, sit on a rock, look at some landmark. So it's all, again, taking them outdoors, look at something, sit there and think about what it means for you. And their problems would disappear. Now, he had a great knack of doing it. He had a great knack of finding things out about the person and giving them like maybe a subliminal message or a subconscious message that would allow something to change while they were doing the task they were given. But very often they would be outdoors somewhere, sitting, doing nothing, just being with something, and the changes would happen. And, you know, when I get up each morning now and I started doing a bit of walking and running, and that's my word, this is my self-care. It's not a chore anymore. It's my self-care. So when I'm taking that time for me to do something that sometimes makes me sweat a bit or gets me out of breath, it's helping me in some positive way. So that's what is important, is you finding what works for you in your self-care. And it can be anything. It doesn't have to be exertion. It could be outdoors. It could be somewhere else. But just find that moment for yourself, because, you know, it's been proven time and time again that when people are being and not embroiled in all the stuff that's going on in their lives, the body, the mind will start to change something. And then your healing takes place.
Yeah, our body tells us, the body and mind tells us. There's so many messages. If we listen in, the messages are there. We're just not listening. And there's something you just said there, Steve, that made me think about how, even if you're not perceiving nature as being the facilitator of you feeling better, what nature does is it gives you a platform for space. It gives you a platform to move away from your noise and into a different space. It is a platform. Nature is a platform for you to create free time. And that's another way to look at it. It's not just about like a very specific version.
As Dave said earlier, it's the environment. You're just changing your environment, and that allows something to change.
Certainly. And there are those chemical changes in your body. There is something about it, you know, different hormones are secreted and blood pressure goes down. There is like a biological response from that environment. I know that from editing the relaxations we did together, Steve, for you. In the process of editing that and finding the imagery to go with your words, I felt like I was transported to the places that you were describing, you know, the way, and I could feel it having an effect on my body. It felt like I was in nature, even though it was in my office. So it does show that even the visualization of it can be really helpful, can really take you there. Listening to the sound of the sea with headphones in, maybe some birds. Oh my God, it's amazing to listen to. You know, even hearing rain on an audio. If it's not raining outside and you love rain, pop it on your phone. Yeah. And it has this kind of visceral, I remember all these times where I got soaking wet, but I was running in splashing puddles as a kid. It invokes so many sensory messages, doesn't it, to take us in? I'm really getting to my flow now. Sensory messages, look at me with big words. Beautiful. So, Dave, for you, for whatever is left that can be shared here, with the
no, it's hard being last.
Don't worry. We went with Darryl on this episode. Next time it'll be you first. Don't you worry.
It's all good, mate. It's all good. I think for me, just going back to what you're saying about holidays, I see this a few times with people. Holidays are great, but they also have a potential downside. You know, you have the holiday blues when life resumes, and it's the same, but on a sort of a larger scale with people who live for the weekend. You know, and they have that fear of Monday. Like everybody hates Mondays. Like you don't hate Monday, you hate what you're having to do on Monday. That's the problem. Um, and it's the same. It's like if you're living for a holiday, then to be as crass as sort of Gary Vaynerchuk, then your shit's fucked up. You know, it's like something's wrong. You know, if you're living for like a week out of the 52, something needs to be addressed. Now, one of the things which, again, I've had used on me by one of my mentors now, which I try and help other people with, is what was described to me as like the purposeful hierarchy. And it's ultimately, like, again, you think of like a 3-tier pyramid. It starts with yourself at the top, sort of like a higher calling, something larger than yourself in the middle, and then others at the bottom. And I know we spoke about this all the other day. Like, I was very much others, 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 and would give all of my time and energy to other things or people in the expected exchange of them to like me more because my self-worth was low. But ultimately, you need to put yourself first. And when you put yourself first, no, and then you focus on something greater than yourself, such as Cove, Owen, or whatever Steve and Darryl are all working on, something that excites them, their business, their coaching, you know, that gives you a purpose. The next thing after that is when you are truly attuned to yourself and looking after yourself, you have something to motivate you, a purpose bigger than yourself. That then means that the other people in your life get the best version of you. They get you at your optimum. When you're working on an empty, you know, when your gas tanks run out, you're much more likely to snap. You're much more likely to be angry, to have very low tolerance, and generally not be a great person to be around. When you are looking after yourself first, when you are doing whatever the self-regulation looks like for you, whether that be, and we all have different toolboxes. Like for me, meditation was huge. Kundalini yoga is huge. I know what my go-tos are when I start feeling a little bit, you know, dysregulated. I know what works for me. Other people, it's journaling. Other people, it's just being outside. You know, whatever it is, just make time for you because you matter. And in order, if you want the best for those around you, you need to be at your best. And I think that's something which I've seen a lot with myself and with my clients is when you encourage them and almost give them permission to do what's best for them, to find whatever your self-regulation is. Like if you realize that you feel amazing for the rest of the day, if you get up and exercise at 7 o'clock in the morning, then you get up and exercise at 7 o'clock in the morning. If it changes your day by getting out for half an hour walk on your lunch break, then you go for your half an hour break on your lunch walk. Even if you've got the boss saying, "Oh, do you mind working a little bit late?" It's like, "No, sorry, I've got something to do. I'll deal with it when I get back." Take up space as you and put you first. And ultimately, everything else will change around you for the better.
Yeah, thank you. That's amazing. So many nuggets in there. And I had so many nuggets to give you back, and they've all gone. Classic. So
I feel betrayed. Where's this nugget trade?
It's just because you guys just excite me so much. I just get so many ideas. But anyway, I'll say it all in my final speech. So this is it, guys. Thanks so much. We've got just our final thought, just to finish up. So over to you, Darryl. So this is just like your final message to anybody that's listening. It's like, man, I need to start getting out. What would you say to them? You know, pump them up, get them out, man. What you got to say?
Yeah, I'd just like to share my truth in this. We've explored it at great lengths, really, throughout the episode. But truly, I feel like I was just reflecting then when you guys were talking, nature's saved my life. I feel like I probably literally wouldn't be here without the space and all that came with the adventures and the growth and development and connection to self and the source that came through those experiences. And nature was a huge part of that. So I feel like I'd be as bold as to say I wouldn't be here without those experiences because of nature. And I feel like you got to find what works for you. And I'm ridiculously connected to nature. So I don't think everybody perhaps is as much, but I feel all of us are energy, right? And then nature has energy and we're all one with that. So whether you connect to on a lot or a little, find what works for you. And whether that be anything else, we've talked about nature today, but meditation, I like meditation, but I find I'm in some ways, I'm in a more of a meditative state. And the purpose of meditation, when I'm going to the gym, when I'm out on a walk, when I'm doing a certain activity, because I change activities all the time, but it depends what kind of hobby I'm getting into, that I'm in that. And I love the variety of it all. And just getting in those spaces, because all it is about is finding that space where you are just completely focused in that moment and you're loving it. This is you in that moment at your best, as we've mentioned. As Dave was just mentioning, it's all about you being at your best and honoring yourself. And when you're doing whatever you're doing, you're in the gym, you're doing archery, you're hiking up the mountain, in that moment, that is exactly what you want to be doing. And that's, you feel great being the person doing that person that you are in that moment. It's like you mentioned, you don't like Mondays, you don't like what you're doing, but also you don't like who you are, right? That's what it really is. You don't like who that person is in that job, that life you're creating for yourself. You want a holiday from that, because that's just shit. So create a life that is beautiful for you. And the best way to start is through these little bits of light, like that hobby you enjoy, that exercise you enjoy doing, whatever it may be. That's the way to start. So even if you don't like your job, you can have those little times and then build it up and find a way to change all of it, because you can have it how you want, but you just gotta explore, learn, discover, and be patient with yourself and with life, and you'll find all the beauty you need. And very often we all want these certain things, we search for these things, and not a lot of this Western world and even the Eastern world has an obsession with money, but we only want money for the freedom it can bring and the things we can do because of it. But you'll find if you don't work yourself to the core, do all these things you don't like doing, or just sit on the sofa because you feel too exhausted, it's not you're exhausted, you're uninspired, right? But if you find those little bits of inspiration and you can bring that into your day, that freedom, that joy that you really want, that you're putting all your hours into to get when you're 69 or whenever it is, or maybe 162 probably for most of us, it's never going to come if you keep burning yourself out. So do the stuff you enjoy and almost enjoy life more now, and you will definitely have a better life in the future. And you're probably going to make more money too, right? So there's no lose here. There is no lose. We're doing it backwards. Stop working your ass off to try and create an imaginary life in the future, and just create that life now and see what unfolds.
Thank you, mate. That's beautiful. And time again, people are living in the future, aren't they? Trying to get somewhere. I do that. I've been doing that a lot, so I'm trying to make sure. And someone said to me, was it Steve or Dave? Was it you, Darryl? Who was it? Someone said to me, you've already done it. I don't know if it was one of you guys, but I was saying about Manco's mission, and someone said to me, you've already done it, mate. So if it ended tomorrow, you've already done it. Your mission is to help inspire men through awareness and being empowered by education. Well, I did that about 5 months ago when I started releasing videos. And like you said, Dave, with me, thinking about becoming a coach and all that kind of stuff we talk about today. Like you said, from this platform perspective, I don't need to chase the qualifications. I don't need to chase if I'm doing talk shows. I'm only doing it because I want more credibility, and that's fine. But these are all future goals, whereas I'm already achieving everything I set out to do right now. But these other things are brilliant, and go for it. But don't, like you said to me, don't feel like I'm not doing what I'm saying I'm trying to do because I feel like I'm lacking from not having that.
Yeah. It's just like a niggle of imposter syndrome, but it doesn't serve you.
Yeah, so powerful. So thank you for that.
As soon as you start living aligned to your truth and doing things like you're doing, you're already success. You don't chase success, it finds you and you just live it.
Yeah, well, the energy would just come from that. I know that for people who are project, I think of myself as a project manager at times, always got a project on. But I find if I really just sit into the project and flow with it, like at the moment, Manco's just doing really well. I'm not doing anything different. I'm not trying harder. I'm just having a good time, meeting amazing people, and it's doing the rest because people are like, this Owen guy's cool. He's got good energy. Whereas if I was exhausted, they'd be like, you all right, mate? I think I'll step back. It's a bit much. And Steve knows that from my last project. By the end of that 3 years, I was just a mess. Yeah. And that's not how I started out that project. And Steve managed, saw me go through that process. Anyway, speaking of Steve,
right.
what is your finale speech for our audience to get out there and have a great time?
Well, I think I go back to what Dave said earlier. Basically, be a bit selfish. Put yourself at the top of the hierarchy. Make yourself the special one, right? And anybody listening to this right now, make a commitment to yourself and a promise to yourself that you'll find that time for you. so that you can take that time out from whatever it is you're doing, the things that get you down the humdrum lives, the work, the worries, the stress, the looking after somebody, whatever it is, other people, other things, and just be with yourself. Even if it's a habit you create, 10 minutes, it'll grow into something special and something else. But just be selfish. Look after number one.
Thank you. Beautiful. Dave, your finale?
I guess it's, just reiterating what was said earlier is, I don't know anybody who has ever been out in nature and then regretted it, failing, like getting injured in some obscure accident. But if you've had a pretty safe time just going for a walk, I don't know anybody who goes, God, I wish I hadn't have gone for that walk. It doesn't happen. So again, reiterating my challenge, if you dare tell me that you're too busy to find half an hour in your day, the challenge is open. DM me on Instagram, send me an email, whatever you want to do, and send me a timetable, and I will find you 30 minutes in your day where you can get outside. And, it goes back to, like, I'm calling you out on it, because I've been there. I've been that person. I've been that person who would make silly excuses. Oh, I'm too busy to go for a walk. You're not. You're just telling yourself that you are because that's comfortable to you, but that comfortable is keeping you stuck. And that's sometimes we all need some accountability, somebody to question us and go, are you really, is that third episode on Netflix really necessary right now? Like, for example, it's nearly 9 o'clock here. I don't know what time we're going to finish this recording, but after this is done, I'm going to go for a walk. It's like, if you are not happy, if you're feeling stuck, then nothing changes if nothing changes, and this is your opportunity to make a change. And you're the only one who's in control of that. And like I said, if you need to help, then I'm sure any of us four will be more than happy to pull you apart on the lies that you're telling yourself. So.
Yeah.
Sorry, a bit tough love at the end there for me, but
yeah, it's like you said, the tough love's great, and you're not by any means saying it's easy, but it can be made easier through mindset, self-care, intention. What the values, attaching values to things really helps. And I,
yeah.
And for me, from my PT days, is if you can't make it fit, stick it into something you're already doing. It's the easiest thing you can do. It's the best way to start. You can't get out of that. So at the moment, when I was looking for a job to do, like Darryl, a job on the side so I can continue to do what I love, is I tried to get a job that I could walk to. Because I know that if I can get up and walk there, I'm going to walk into that workplace feeling a lot more, a lot more up for it, a lot more kind of refreshed. I've had time to clear any thoughts that I've got. So by the time I get to work, it doesn't get filled up with loads of extra thoughts. So it's kind of like, that's a prime example, walk to work, cycle to work instead. Something that you can integrate into a commute that's just a great advice for exercise, full stop. Integrate your fitness into your routine. Go out for your lunch break and eat on the go, or scan in the garden is the prime example for me. Just scan outside. It's a good way to go. But honestly, that walking to work thing is very powerful, I think, especially on the way back. Discharge. Otherwise, you're jumping in a car and then whizzing back in your car and getting in, checking your emails. Whereas, even check your emails on your bloody walk. At least there's a bit of a difference there, anything you can think of. So that's kind of my final thought on that one. So thank you very much, everybody. I'm very super proud of us to get this in about 1 hour 10. Very, very impressive.
Woo!
Even, we're all super chatty too, and Dave is yet another chatterbox. So we've done really well to keep this down. So for the audience, we will try and keep these to about an hour and 15 on average. If you're listening and you've got any ideas for topics, let us know. We're always trying to think about topics we can cover. So chuck some stuff our way. That'd be really, really cool. So I want to thank everybody for listening. I hope this has been helpful to you. That does bring our episode to a close. I'm quickly going to thank our patrons, and then I'll get your web address links, guys, and such like in a second. So I just want to thank our patrons for their support. Mike Morgan, Emerald McLeod, Julie Ferris, Maggie Palmer, our new patrons, Stella Stati, Roland Chestard, Hannah Irvin, another new patron, Daniel Billing. Thank you, everyone. Karen Goodson, and of course, these legends, Steve Truelove and Darryl Osborne, for being awesome patrons. And even though I've got a full-time job and finally I'm not broke, your money does really allow this brand to grow and keep doing the good work it's doing. And I can't thank you enough for your generous contributions, especially through COVID times. So thank you. You can sign up to be a patron at www.patreon.com/MCW. And you can find out more about us at mancowellbeing.com. Sorry, I've gone super cheesy news presenter all of a sudden. Before we go to you, can you let listeners know where they can find you online? I mean, they must be sick of Darryl and Steve saying this now. So, Darryl, where can we find you online?
You can find me on my website, darrylosborne.com. Loads of stuff on there. My beautiful face is on there, so go and check that out. And on Facebook, I'm particularly big on Facebook. I spend some time on Instagram and YouTube, but check me out on there. I got a group as well, and I'm looking to launch a podcast myself soon. So hear more about that shortly as well, guys.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to be a guest. Just let me know when you're ready.
Amazing, I love it.
Steve, where can we find you?
Find me on www.lovelifeloveyou.co.uk. We just had a little upgrade and some new pictures on the website, and I'm about to launch a nice course, which I'm really excited about, actually, and that'll be on the website by the end of the week, I think.
Cool. All right, mate. I'll have to share some information about that too when it launches. That's awesome. And Dave, let us know where we can find your coaching business and also your podcast.
Well, I'm most active on Instagram is where most of the time. So that's just at the Dave Furness on Instagram. As for coaching, just go to davefurness.com and you find out all the information about coaching on there. The podcast is also on there. And I went on a bit of a bender the other day, and my podcast should now be pretty much everywhere. It's on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts. I should be very hard to not find at this point, but all the links are also in my Instagram bio thing in there. So it's called Let's Talk Mental Health with Dave Furness, if you are so inclined.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. And
we have the podcast with Mr. Owen coming soon.
Oh, actually. Yes, of course. Yes, I was a guest. How weird.
Yes, you were.
Very exciting.
Coming soon.
Yeah, awesome stuff. And also you can see a one-to-one with me and Dave on YouTube channel and Spotify and Apple as well. So you can find out more about Dave's work. Check out the series that I did with Darryl. We really need to do some more of those, mate. I keep forgetting.
I was thinking about that the other day.
So check out some videos there with Darryl, really cool. And then Steve's got some absolutely immense relaxation, nature-based ones mostly, over on there too. So if you want to put some headphones in and have a sit or a lie down and just be transported to beautiful places, check out Steve's meditations and relaxations there. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Stay safe, support your friends, and look after you. And I now say, look after your nervous system. It needs your love. Listen to it and give it some kindness back. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.